Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. So we are getting pretty close now to releasing Global War 1914. I was hoping to start doing some new videos when I had the map, but I think though what I want to do, because I really want to play a game, I think what I'm going to do is as soon as I get the map, and it'll be in the next couple months, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a solo game. Even though there's other people that want to play a game with me right now, I want to play a solo game so that I can teach people how to play this game. Because a lot of the rules are different than the 36 game, and a lot of the rules are similar. And so I think that if I don't show people how to play it, then because the rules are similar in a lot of ways, then people might just assume, oh, this is the same too, and this is the same, whereas it's not the same, especially in some places where you wouldn't think so. So that's what I want to do, but I also want to play a game, and I also thought it would be helpful for you to see how the game is played, right? So as I'm going through the turn order, like when Germany starts a game, so we do the random events, and then we take Germany's turn, and then then it's Britain's turn, and you can kind of see where the game is going. Now I'm not sure if I'll play the whole game or if I'll just play half a game or whatever, just enough to show you how the game works. But as I go through, I'm going to take it slowly though, so that I can teach you how a lot of the things are done and teach you all the rules along the way. But I thought before the map came in, one thing that I could do is do some of the things that maybe take a little bit more of an explanation and make short videos out of them, or long videos, you know me, right? So we will see how many of these videos I get through, and then when I start the game, then I don't have to go into long detailed explanations of each rule. I can just refer back to the video that I made previously. So this video is going to be on the elite units, and all of the major all of the, I wouldn't say major because Italy's in there as well, but all of the playable nations have elite units except for Japan. Japan is the one playable nation that does not have an elite unit, but all of the other ones have one, and you can see them there on your screen. I'm not going to list them off each one individually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each one of them separately. This is just for the purposes of the introduction, where I got them all together, and I'm certain they're not going to start a fight with each other. At least not till the war starts anyway. Anyway, so let's get to it. Okay, so I've spread all these guys out on the map. There you can see the British Empire's elite unit, that is Gurkha down there. And we've got one of the Ottoman Guards. And up there we have a couple of Cossacks, which is a cavalry unit, the only cavalry unit that is an elite unit. And we have the Bersaglieri, that's the Italian unit. And both the German and the Austro-Hungarian have a unit that's called a Jaeger. And they're identical units. Those two factions were very similar. They shared a lot of traits, and so it's not surprisingly that they have the same unit. And down here we have the Zouave, that is the French unit. And then across the water over there, let's just start with this guy over here, and we'll make our way from west to east. So let's zoom in on that guy. So that is a U.S. Marine. That is the elite unit for the Americans. Now, in this game we have naval infantry, and naval infantry in this game are the same as Marines in the 36 game. So they attack at 2 and they defend at 4. They don't have double casualties on an amphibious assault, and they don't suffer a river penalty when crossing a river. And then this guy here, the U.S. Marine, he is +1 attack and defense. So rather than 2-4, he attacks at 3 and defends at 5. So that's pretty good. And also he costs 5. A regular naval infantry would cost you 4 in the game. This guy is going to cost 5. So that's pretty simple one to understand. Now this guy has to be built in the American home country, which means the not Alaska, not the Philippines, not Hawaii. He has to be built in the eastern or the western United States. And you see, this is the eastern part. I think most of the global warriors out there understand what the American home country is. Anyway, the guy has to be placed in the home country of the States, and he has to be placed where you see one of these manpower markers. That's what these silhouettes are. They look like human silhouettes. Those are called manpower markers. Now, you're not going to need a factory to place one of those, but you do need a manpower marker. So you see where he is now in Washington. There's 3 of them. That means that you could place this guy and 2 other types of infantry class units. There's a lot of different infantry class units in the game, but you could not put more than 3 in Washington on one turn. But again, only 1 elite unit can be placed per turn, and that includes all of the different elite units. They can all only be 1 per turn. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this guy here, he is the French elite unit, and he's called a Zouave. Here, let's take a closer look at this guy here. So, there was more than just Zouaves that served in the French army. Like, they served in the American Civil War back in the 1860s, and they were from Algeria in North Africa there. That's why you see the guy in North Africa. So this guy has to be built in either Algeria or Tunisia. He can't be built in the home country like the rest of them. And like all the other ones, he does need the manpower marker here to build him. You won't need a factory to build him. So that's the advantage of the Zouave and the Gurkha for the British, is that these are units that could be built outside of home country that that you don't need a factory for. Normally, for a regular infantry, you would need a factory, right? So that's a big advantage for the French and the British. His numbers are attack 3 and defense 5 and a cost of 5, a movement of 1. So yeah, that guy works pretty good. And you can see how close they are to the French home country there. So they're actually pretty handy there. You can build them, and the French has a pretty good navy in this game. So you can build them and you can ship them up to France, or you could use them down in Africa, right? So they were highly decorated. The French love these, the people of France, because these guys, they were just fearless, right? They were just excellent fighters, and so that's what made them so popular with the French people and with the French army, and why we decided to include them in this game for the French, the Zouave. So that guy there, he's a German Jaeger. Now what the Jaegers were they were light infantry, so they're mobile infantry, right? They weren't weighed down by a lot of equipment or anything. They could move fast. My partner that helped me, or I helped him actually develop this game in the latter stages, is Bob, and when he was in the army, he was in the light infantry, and he'd tell me that yeah, we were armed enough to get ourselves into trouble, but not to get ourselves out. So they quite often they move behind enemy lines. They were that kind of infantry, right, where they could move fast and pack light, and away they'd go, right? So that's what a Jaeger is. Now this one, he is attack 3 and defense 5, movement of 1, and cost 5. But he has a couple of advantages. One, he acts as a a mountain infantry. So all the attributes of a mountain infantry were, they don't suffer the mountain penalty on attack, and where they're +1 defense in a mountain, that goes true for this Jaeger. And also he negates defending artillery as far as first strike ability goes. So let's say you're attacking a territory that has 3 defending artillery, and you have amongst your group of attackers, you have 1 Jaeger. Well, the other guys would only get 2 shots first strike for their artillery, because 1 Jaeger will eliminate 1 artillery. The artillery will still get to fire, but not first strike. So he'll have to wait for all the other units when they shoot for him to take his shot. And while we're there, let's just move down over here. Oh, and again, has to be built in home country. Only 1 of them per turn, and again, has to be built where there's a manpower icon. You don't need a factory to build them. Same with this guy down here. That's the Jaeger from Austria, Hungary. And he has all the same attributes. He's pretty effective too, because as you can see, Austria-Hungary is most of it is mountains there. So having yourself a mountain infantry, that works out pretty well for the Austrians. Again, same attributes: attack 3, defense 5, cost 5, movement of 1. So those are the Jaegers. Okay, the Italian guy here, that's called a Bersaglieri. You can see how he's got a wide brim hat and a feather in his hat. Let's just take a closer look at that. They were around for quite a long time, and that was the characteristics, how you could tell one was the wide brimmed hat and the feather, but or the feathers, I should say. They were sharpshooters. That's what they were, and quite effective as well. Highly decorated. One of the in World War I here, one of the Bersaglieres was Benito Mussolini. He went on to be a president of Italy, and I think we all know the rest of the stuff that he did. But anyway. They're much like the Jaegers in that they attack at 3, defend at 5, movement of 1, and a cost of 5. And they also negate that artillery 1-to-1 for its first strike ability. So the artillery will still get to fire, just won't get a first strike on defense. But the difference with the Jaegers is that he is not listed as a mountain infantry, so he has less ability than the Jaegers do. So that's the Bersaglieri. Now these are your Russian Cossacks. The reason that I'm showing 2 of them is because both of these sculpts were recently released at Historical Board Gaming. And we're trying to get sculpts out for all of these units, these elite units that we're showing. So far, only the ones that are done are what you see there, the Cossacks, and there's Gurkhas. The Gurkhas are actually really quite nice, as well as the Cossacks. I think what they, like you see the base that I have on these are a rectangular type of base. I think the bases are going to be round though for the cavalry coming out, as well as for the camels. But anyway, you can see how I've painted the base, and the reason I did that was because I wanted to differentiate them from the Russian regular cavalry. And you can't quite see with the other chips, but there's a silver star in the middle of them, and so I put a silver star onto the base of these just to show that they are the elite cavalry. So the difference, what makes these elite, is that in the game, I mean, is that they attack at 4 and defend at 4. Normally a cavalry unit in this game attacks at 3 and defends at 2. So that's quite an upgrade, 4 and 4 on this one. They have a movement ability of 2, and they cost 5. So they are going to cost $1 more than the cavalry, but they're much better. And I think this is the best elite unit in the game because of that movement ability of 2 and the fact that it attacks and defends really well. So that makes them a really valuable unit. You might see yourself building one of these every single turn. And you actually start the game with, I think, a couple of them. Anyway, so same thing as the other ones, has to be built in home country, and they also have to be built where there's a manpower icon, and you don't need a factory to build them. So cavalry in this game are built like infantry are, where you can build them where there is a manpower icon. And the one special ability they have is that they don't suffer a river penalty. So that'll come in handy a few times a game, because there's a lot of rivers in Europe, and they will be crossing rivers from time to time. So that's handy as well. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, this guy is an Ottoman Guards unit. They were First Army or First Army Guards. I was looking for a better word for them, but it seems pretty boring what they named them. But anyway, they were elite soldiers in the Ottoman army in modern times. If we were to go back a ways, a few hundred years, then we could have had janissaries, and there's a couple other kinds, but we have to have Ottoman Guards here. So nothing out of the ordinary about this guy, other than he's just attack 3, defend 5, movement of 1, and cost 5. So, but he doesn't have any abilities as far as limiting artillery. He's not a mountain infantry or anything. He's just attack 3 and defense 5. But that's still good, because there's not a lot of offense in this game, right? So anytime you can have an attack of 3 just for an infantry class unit, that is helpful. Again, has to be built in the home country. So you can see the home country there. That's those 3 territories, and no factory needed, just a manpower icon. So let's get to the last guy. So here is your Gurkha from the British Army. This guy is handy for more than anything for where he's built. You build him in India. Again, you don't need a factory. You just need a manpower icon. So why that is so good is because that's a long ways away from the British home country. You can't build this guy in the British home country. You can only build him in India, somewhere in India, right? And he's a mountain infantry, plus he is +1 defense in a jungle. Now, whereas all the other units are kicked up in their attack and defense, this guy is still only 2, attack of 2 and defense of 4, and a movement of 1. We wanted to keep him consistent with the Gurkha from the 1936 game, and so that's why he's not kicked up in those numbers. The big thing in this game, though, is where he's built, because you are going to need units down here on this side of the board, because the British Empire is really quite extensive in World War I, and to be able to build units down there, like a decent unit without a factory, is good. So you just need that manpower icon. You don't need the factory, right? The one good thing, though, about the lower numbers is that he costs less. So while the other units all cost 5, this guy only costs 4 for the Gurkha. So that's handy as well, because you only have a certain amount of money in this game, right? Like the Ottomans, I think they only start with 10 IPP. So buying one of their guards, that's half your money right there, right? Again, though, with all these units, you can only build one of them per turn. That goes for the Gurkha as well. So like if you built them in Calcutta here, you could put 2 more infantry class units there as well. If it was a factory, then that opens you up to more ability to build different kinds of infantry class units. Otherwise, you'll have to build colonial infantry there or a Gurkha without the factory. So We'll get into that in another video, how to build units in the game, because that is vastly different from the 1936 game. I did touch on it in an earlier video, but I'll go through the whole thing, maybe even in the next video, on how to build units in this game. But anyway, this video has been about the elite class units in the game, and all of them will be available soon, 3D printed units, and that'll be cool because they are unique in this game. You don't have an elite unit in the 36 game for all of the different nations. You only have a few of them, right? So it's kind of cool to have them in this game. And I think the reason we did that is because there's fewer units in this game, right? I mean, we're talking about older technology, and so there's fewer things that you can put into the game. So having an extra type of infantry, or in this case with the Cossacks, a cavalry unit, is kind of handy, right? Something else that you can build and something that is useful. So anyway, thanks for joining me for this video. So take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.